If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us for this Monday night special episode of the show. I really appreciate it. Of course, most of you are here because you listened to Saturday night's show already and you want to hear the Q&A session with Cam, who's nice enough to come back. Well, let's get to it now. Without any further ado, let's bring him in here now. Cam, thanks so much for joining us.
Man, I'm glad I made it. I'm sorry I was late. I got here in the nick of time.
You had me worried. I was starting to wonder.
Sorry, man. No, I was in soaking wet waders. I didn't get to go hunting the other day like I wanted to, and I went this evening and didn't shoot anything at all. So,
no.
Yeah, cold and wet for no reason.
You soaked your waders again?
Well, no, I didn't fall. I forgot I told you that. No, I didn't fall like I did the other day, but I've had them for 2 years, so there's still there's a leak in them. It's same waders I was wearing when all that crazy stuff went down, but there's like a hole and like a little seems a pinhole, but after a couple hours of sitting in the water, it'll seep and seep and seep. And I pulled my waders off, and my socks were wet, and it was nightmare, dude.
Yeah, sounds like it. Those are the same waders you had on when you had that showdown. What do they have? Sentimental value to you or what?
Man, they starting out, I guess, really, yeah. They were just a pair of Magellan waders that my wife bought for me. But now, I'll wear them. I shouldn't have them for another season, but I'm gonna probably doctor and tape and Lex seal them up so I can use them again next season. It's kind of hard to get rid of them.
Oh no, I understand. Yeah, if it was a present from her, then yeah, that does make sense. That's what they make 100-mile-an-hour tape for.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Well, like I said, we all really appreciate you coming back to answer all these questions. And boy, do I have quite a collection of questions for you. The first question I've got is, from what I understand, not too long ago, your grandfather and grandmother had a pretty interesting run-in with that Dogman. What's the story behind that?
Man, so this was, I can't exactly remember the day. I could look back through mine and Grandpa's calls and messages and stuff and figure it out. But man, before that thing, and I still don't know how he figured where I was and what made him decide to leave from the place over there and come and find me. I'm still not clear on that. But before he left from over there, he killed Jack. He killed their blue heeler, and they had a little, like a beagle mix named Ruby. He killed Jack and Ruby. He killed their chickens. He smashed through the side of the barn. And man, this one night, my grandfather was so if you walk in the front door of the house, so you look through the front door, you can see all the way through the living room and through the kitchen out. The kitchen has like a sunroom style wall window, like the whole wall is a window. My grandmother wanted it that way because she has plants back there. And Grandpa, I don't think he came into the front door because he was inside, but he walked in and turned the corner into the kitchen, and this thing is looking in the window. Like it's, the window is as tall nearly as the wall. There's a little spot for trim up top. But I mean, the window is taller than me. And I'm probably 6 foot, and this thing was hunched over looking in the window, and he went and got his gun and went outside. And, you can't tell that man any damn thing, man. I mean, you can't. I understand you defending your house, but he didn't have to go outside, but he did. He went outside and he saw him again. Same place, just all right. So when you walk into the kitchen, that window is at the back. There's a back door to the left of that window. Well, if you go right, you go around a corner and you're like in a little nook, like a spare little or extra bonus little part of that room. And the wall is window there as well. Well, if you turn, you can only see, I don't know, there's 5 feet of window covering that wall. Well, he saw him there too. Saw him there as well. And man, it freaked my grandmama out. And I'm sure it freaked Grandpa out too. The man ain't scared of anything, but man, it's not something you just don't get freaked out about at all. Especially looking in your window at your house. Like, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time Grandpa had seen that thing. If I'm not forgetting something, I do believe that was the first time he had actually seen him, and he wasted zero time going and getting his gun. But it wasn't long after that like I said, I'd go back and look, but it wasn't long after that at all when he turned up over here at my place. So
Your grandpa sounds like the kind of man who likes to spend a lot of time in the woods. Did that experience have any effect on that?
no, not at all. No, it was, man, you can't. He's bred different. Like he's not. I will never in my life be the man that he. My dad is. He wasn't always this way, but he's really fallen off, man. He's on drugs. He doesn't have anything to do with my children. Um, he's found some kind of way to blame my grandfather for something that justified him pushing my grandfather. I was like, my grandfather has a lot of money, property, possessions, and all these things that my dad was supposed to get. When grandpa's gone, he doesn't have long. He might have a couple of years. He's got leukemia, dementia, and my dad has found some kind of way to alienate him. But now, grandpa, being the man that he is, he's like, I mean, seriously to me, and I quote, he said, "The hell with your dad." And he said, "You can handle all this stuff just fine when I'm gone." Man, that ain't my job, but I'm gonna do it because it has to be done. Somebody has to divvy up everything between me and my three sisters when that time comes. And I hope it's a long time from now, because it could be next week, it could be 5 years from now, but it's probably not gonna be much more than that. But that man is indestructible. Like he cut his leg almost all the way out. I think it's his left leg. He was out logging with a buddy. He used to trap, and our grandpa made money a whole lot of different ways before he started doing like a big construction gig for himself. But man, he almost cut his leg off one time. A chain slung from the chainsaw and wrapped around his inner thigh. Almost severed his femoral artery. He made it to the hospital. He made it to somebody else's truck because they were kind of a little ways away from each other. He made it to the dude's truck, and I can't remember which one of his friends it was, but fella took him to the hospital. They're like, "Man, we don't know how you're alive." He had like 2 or 3 heat strokes in a row, in succession, in like one day. He was out pouring a concrete slab, and 2 of his guys called in sick or didn't show up or something. And he went out, out there floating out there, magging concrete by himself with like one dude or something or another, and had a heat stroke, sat down, drank some water, got back up, worked again. I mean, the dude is, you can't deter him from anything or tell him anything different than what he believes. There aren't any of those being born anymore today. They broke the mold after they made ones like him.
I'd say they did. Yeah, he's
Yes.
tough as nails, certifiable.
No.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely is.
Yeah.
You
If you've
told
ever
us.
seen John, do it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Please continue.
You're good. No, I was just gonna say, if you've ever seen John Wayne, you know what my grandfather looks like. He has a fake John Wayne driver's license. And the name on it, it's first name the, second name Duke. But it's been on his mantle above the fireplace for years and years now. And every time I bring a friend over, I'm like, yeah, that's my grandpa's old driver's license right there.
Don't let him get pulled over with that in his pocket.
Right.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Well, I'm glad to hear that at least he was the dad to you that your biological dad wasn't. Thank goodness for him.
Certainly was.
Yeah, definitely. You told us about your wife taking your children with her and moving into your dad's house on Saturday. How far is his house from your house?
No, it was, so she moved into where everything happened. My grandpa, the one that's hard at, that's my dad's dad. They moved into my pop's house. My pop is my mom's father. And he's just north of Memphis. So he's probably an hour and 40 minutes or so from here. I think it's north of Memphis. Either way, wherever it is, he's about an hour and 40, between an hour and 42 hours from here.
Okay, that's good. He's pretty far removed then. Did he know why she wanted to move in with him with the kids?
Well, not initially. I called him and I said, "Pop, and this is the same Pop that I called when I had to make a decision on my dog. It was a couple years ago. He knows what to say. So that's why I called him. He's not quite like my dad's dad, but his house is full of guns. You know, he was the only white man in a really bad neighborhood in Memphis when I was growing up, and the whole street knew you do not go in that man's yard. Like somebody stole a four-wheeler one time, he didn't kill him, but he shot him in the yard, called the cops, and ever since then, people have been robbed all up and down that street. Nobody has touched that house. Nobody has cut the lock on the gate, none of that stuff. But he I picked him for a reason, but I initially I just said, hey, look, you know, Katie and I are, you know, we're in it. I need your help, and I need, if you can, for Katie and the girls to be able to stay with you and he, you know, I mean, it was embarrassing to ask. I mean, for him to, he asked me if I was trying to abandon my family. He said, "You planning on walking out on your family? You gonna dump them on me?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know what possessed you to ask me that, why you would say that to me, but that's absolutely not, you know." But I told him, you know, I mean, I had to, because you know, he's as ready as he could be for somebody to kick his door in and come, but he's not as ready, or he wasn't as ready as he could be for a literal monster. You know, there's no other term for a literal monster to come knocking or scratching on walls or windows, or, you know, I mean, he had to know, you know, and I told, and he knows now, he believes now, like he believes. And he's told me that, you know, he apologized. He said, man, I didn't mean anything by that. It just kind of seemed out of the blue and, you know, for no reason that you were asking that of me. And obviously it wasn't on anything for no reason, but yeah, you know, he knows now. And he never questioned that they needed to stay there. You know, it wasn't that, but it was, yeah, it was, I didn't tell him straight away, and maybe I should have, but yeah.
Well, you know how that goes. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm just glad he's on board now and he knows the truth of the matter. Sounds like everyone is, and that's a
Yeah.
good thing. That's a really good thing. Does he live in the country or in a developed area though, where you wouldn't expect dogmen to go?
It's a neighborhood. It's not like the street that he grew up on where there was, I mean, it's, you know, house. Like you can look outside into your neighbor's backyard. It's not like that, but it's in like a, you know, Pop's old, and he owned a construction company, him and his partner, for the longest time. And he's semi-retired. He still handles some stuff, but he's done well for himself. He's both of my grandfathers have done extremely well for themselves. And he moved my grandmother, my Mima, uh, he moved her, it's been a couple years now, I guess. But they moved into like it's a higher scale neighborhood. Not, I wouldn't say a gated community, but it's, all the houses are really nice and big, lots of rolling hills, and you can see your neighbor's houses, you know, for sure. But you can't walk out in your front yard and talk to your neighbor. You have to get on your. Most people around there have golf carts, very uppity type. But you'd have to get on your golf cart and ride to your neighbor's house to have a conversation with him. So it's not just out there, but it's you know, it's right outside of a big city. You know.
Huh. Yeah, sounds like a nice area. Like a
Yeah.
really nice area. And before we move on, two things. Number one, I want to thank Julie Travis so much for her donation. I really appreciate it, Julie. And of course, thanks for listening. I really appreciate that as well. And also, too, if you remember episode 544, where Tiffany came on and told us about the two dogmen that she saw fighting that day and all the other experiences that she unfortunately has been made to bear. Well, I just wanted to put a shout out there for her daughter, Maddie, who's joining us tonight listening to the show. Maddie has kind of been through it with all these crazy experiences that she's been made to deal with, but I'm proud of her. She's hanging in there, and it sounds, from what I hear, it sounds like she's doing better. And as long as she can say that, then that's definitely a good thing. So, yeah, definitely hang in there, Maddie. And like I've told your mother, if you ever need help, just make sure that you let her know, and I'll be more than happy to help you if I can. Moving forward, how far was the inlet, Kim, where you had that final showdown with the dogman from your house?
Um. Oh, that's a good question. It's probably, it takes me 25 minutes to get there, probably. So not sure in miles or whatever, but I'll tell y'all this. I'm not going to give you any specific. I told Vic, and obviously for obvious reasons, I can't say right now, but I will say, I think not just a couple of days ago, but when I called Vic to tell him about the time I had run into this thing out about completely alone and in the middle of the day, he asked, I think it was then that he asked me about, he said, there's like a hot spot around it. This was right off the backside of Taylor, Mississippi, between a place called Taylor and a place called Water Valley. I'm not gonna tell you exactly where, but that's as much as I'll say here. But it's probably 20 minutes, 20 plus from where I live right now.
Yeah, so that's pretty close then.
Yeah.
That is. Do you have any plans for ever going back there to hunt?
That's where I was earlier. I wasn't in the same, because there's a slough off the river, and where we were when that happened was, you so when you come in, there's two ways to come in. There's more than two ways to come in, but there's two ways publicly on government land that you can enter this place. The first one being, you come in and you're on the left side of this slough. That's where we were. We were on the river side of the slough. And where we were today was way, we were even farther back. We were way far. I found another, it's like a little horseshoe shaped, I assume it's a roost hole, because we didn't see ducks until it was like almost dark. And again, I didn't kill anything, so it's embarrassing. But no, when all that happened, we were actually closer than where we were today. So, but we did, in a way, pass that spot today. I just didn't go there. So,
Yeah, being as close to your house as that area is, I can understand why you'd frequent that area. It's like a honey hole, it sounds like.
it is. It is.
Yeah, must be. After that day, did Alan show any signs of being traumatized by what happened?
No, man. He asked me if I was okay. Me and Allan had an argument earlier, actually. But other than, you know, most of it was when we pulled up at his house for me to drop him off, that morning. It was he asked me if I was all right. He wasn't just asking like, "Hey, you okay?" He was like, "Is everything gonna be okay? Are you?" I guess he meant like, "Are you all right? Do you need some help?" No, man. It's strange as all this may seem to you. I'm doing as well as I've ever done. But I'm telling you, man, Allan is he's different. Like, he really is. He's I used to fight when I was younger. I trained and fought and taught and cornered and kept time. I've done everything you can do in the fight world, really, other than have a kickboxing match, which I never had. But I was fortunate enough to meet some of the hardest, just most badass people you'll ever meet in your life. And people can kill you barehanded. They need a weapon. They don't need anything. Well, Allan wasn't like that, but I had the privilege of meeting several guys who were like Navy SEALs, or former Marine. And I say former Marine. You're once a Marine, always a Marine. They don't like it when you say that, but who were previously in the Marines. And man, lots of them that I became friends with and am still friends with to this day have it in common that, man, there's not a lot of rattle in those guys. There's just not. No matter what the situation, you know, Allan's no different. Now, he didn't do jujitsu. He didn't wrestle. He didn't fight. He didn't any of that. But man, I'm not joking with you when I tell you that Allan's killed people. There are dead people in this world that Allan was the cause of. And it wasn't illegal. He didn't do anything crazy. He didn't go out and murder somebody. But Allan has unalived human beings before. He's hard as a coffin nail. I'm not joking when I say that. But if you didn't know him like I know him, you would never know that. You would never guess it. And talking to him, you'd never. He's just talking to Allan. He's really intense. He stares you in your face. Like, there is the utmost respect that Allan gives when he talks to you. He's very direct, straightforward, very mentally fortified. Like, I'm telling you, man, whenever I froze up, that's embarrassing to say. I'm a seasoned hunter. I've been there. I've done that when it comes to hunting, man. And by all means, by all accounts, I should have drawn down on that thing and blown his brains out with no hesitation whatsoever. But man, he grabbed a hold of me. However it was, he managed to grab a hold of me, and I did not. I couldn't. I was completely lost. Like shooting kind of left my mind. I wasn't aware that I was holding a gun anymore. I wasn't, just a strange feeling. But man, Allan was. I guess what I'm getting at is me freezing and pausing like that. I am amazed that Allan didn't snatch the gun from me and do it himself. Like he was. That's about as uh, off put as Allan is going to be. He was. I had the gun. It was my gun, and I was aiming. And my safety was off, so he didn't want to reach over and grab my gun and accidentally, fire a shot or do something crazy. But I'm amazed that he didn't reach over and grab it from me and take the shot himself. Like it was no, Allan hadn't been. And if he has, let me say this, just so I'm not lying. If he has been rattled by it, he hasn't let on to me, even a little bit.
He does sound like a bad dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, to go from never knowing these things existed and finding yourself right in the middle of an encounter as intense as that one was. Wow, and
Yeah.
not being rattled by it. Yeah, I'd say not much would rattle him. I'm wondering though, if it didn't rattle him, did he seem to catch the Dogman bug and try to research them and find out all he could about them as much as possible?
No, I don't think so. I guess I'm not saying if it was anybody other than him, but I mean, after mine and Tyler's, think Tyler's really he Tyler doesn't smile a lot. He doesn't. He wouldn't sit here and listen to your show like I would. Like Tyler's like, oh hell, if it ain't got nothing to do with being outside, I don't want to do it. He's very Tyler's not much for technology. He's not gonna sit and listen to a podcast. And I'll be honest with you, if Tyler hadn't have been there that night, if he didn't have all the reason that he has to know for a fact that it's true, he wouldn't believe it. And I wouldn't believe anything I tell. He knows I wouldn't lie to him. But I mean, because when I told him about it, he seemed kind of. I mean, how could you not be like, oh wow, really? But the first thing he asked me was what can we do? Like he immediately just went ahead and put himself. I mean, Alan's got kids too. Alan's got kids and all that. He's not married. Hope he doesn't marry her. But he, first thing out of his mouth, what can we do? He immediately was letting me know, like, man, you ain't in it alone. What are we gonna do about it? And the thing is, I didn't have any intentions of having him doing anything about it. It was just he was there, and that thing found me. As it was obviously going to do. I just didn't figure it would find me there. Like there was no. I don't know. We didn't see that thing on the way in. I didn't hear him. How did he get there? How long was it? Was he waiting on me? Did he know? Did he read my mind? Did he know I was going to be there? I've got questions myself, man. But honestly, it's if I didn't get them answered, it'd be just fine because I don't have to deal with it anymore. But ugh, I still have questions myself.
Oh, that's only natural. And yeah, I'm sure you do have a lot of questions. Yeah, that's to be expected. And as far as Alan goes, he was already a great friend of yours, but did that encounter bring you two even closer together as friends?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess so. But really, man. So one thing I've always the way I like to say it, um, especially for my babies, for my because I don't have any sons, and if I did, it wouldn't be any different. It's just I tend to be a little softer when it comes to little girls. But man, the way I like to say it is, I love you, and I would give my life or take somebody else's if it meant that I could save yours or keep you from hurting. And I guess Alan knows for a fact now I would take somebody else, or I guess I'm not gonna talk about this thing like he's a person. It's no humanity in him. But I definitely kill for him. I guess I have now. And he'd do it for me. If the roles were reversed, it's not even I wouldn't have to ask, hey, man, are you good? It's not, he'd do it for me with no questions. And it wouldn't matter if it was a human. If somebody were to threaten my life in front of Allan and I didn't do it first, it's that's just not a very good when you have friends like I do, like I'm very fortunate to have. You don't mess with people. It's respectful not to mess with people, but it's also sometimes, whether you're aware of it or not, it can be a hazard to your health to mess with somebody. And I guess he knows that I would quite literally kill for him now, so he better know.
Yeah, it sounds like both of you would kill for each other. So, what a friendship. Have you second guessed yourself for not trying to take any pics or souvenirs of the Dogman's corpse?
No.
Good.
What second get? You mean like, do I wish that I had?
Yeah.
No. Man, as I think, with my questions to you the other night, I don't remember if we talked about them on the show or not, but no, I think that probably would have been pretty stupid. And it was, I can, people say, not just talking about like a dog man or anything like that, but like UFOs back before the government declassified the UFO files or whatever it was that happened. People like, all these people swear that there's these things, but nobody has a good picture, man. And I used to say that, maybe not about a dog man, because like I said, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know that term until I found your show. But man, you can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You can feel however you want to about something, but until you've been there, you don't know what you would do. It's Mike Tyson wasn't quite right. Everybody's got a game plan until you get punched in the face. If you get punched in the face and forget the game plan, you're not seasoned enough. But when you stand in front of a monster, a literal living, breathing, walking terror out of a nightmare, out of a bad dream that you've heard about in stories or seen on television, there is absolutely no thought in your mind about, let me pull out my phone and take a picture. Like when I heard Allan hollering, hey bear, and I made my way out there, and then I see it behind him, dude, I'll be honest with you. And, I'm not saying this to be funny or to make a joke, but man, Allan wasn't even the first thing on my mind. Like, obviously he's on my end goal was to keep him from getting killed or hurt or whatever. But the first thing on my mind was my gun. I was like, I got to get to the gun. Yeah, I should have brought it out with me, but at the same time, I was kind of concerned with getting out there, getting to him so that he wasn't alone, because that was weird. That was really, really, really weird. Like, hey bear, what are the chances? But yeah, dude, I think it would have been, and then no, I say I think, I know it would have been a stupid decision, because I guess there's no way of knowing if that game warden, would have like checked my phone. What reason did he have to do that? I don't know. But what if I had taken pictures and they had checked me for something like that? They didn't even mention that. That wasn't even a question. Nobody asked that. And I don't know if nobody thought to or if they didn't care to, but as I think that you're right in you telling me that they know if I did or didn't.
I'm pretty sure they do. They
Yeah.
do know if you did or didn't take pictures. And I'm so glad you know better than to try to do that. Like you said, if you have an experience like that with, like you said, a monster, you're going to be in shock. So pulling
Yeah.
out a phone, snapping a photo, that's the last thing that's going to be on your mind.
Yeah.
So it's expected that you wouldn't get any pictures. But like I said, I'm glad you didn't take any pictures. And as far as taking souvenirs, cutting off a claw or pulling a tooth, whatever, you didn't have the opportunity to do that. Even if you wanted to, the authorities were there in almost no time. And
Yeah.
you'd be
Well,
crazy to
I'll
approach
be
that
honest.
thing.
We might have, yeah, no, that would have been that was the part that I wouldn't have done that even if I'd have thought to. Like it's I'm not. He was dead. He was slumped over in the water, dead. And if he wasn't dead when he 'cause, I mean he was out of the water. There was like a foot, maybe a foot and a half out of the water. His head's really really big, and his head and his right shoulder were the only things sticking out of the water. And man, I wouldn't, dead or not, I had no desire to be any closer than I already was. No, we in all honesty, we did have time. If I'd have had reason to want to get something like that, I probably could have. But you know, just man, I wouldn't have walked up to where I could put my hands on that thing if I'd have had reason to. I just have no desire to be that close. I was way too close as it was, you know.
Yeah, sounds like you must have been. And you didn't have a knife that would have taken its claw off anyway, did you? Or pried a tooth out?
Eh, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I got a little, I forget what brand it is, but my grandpa gave it to me, but it's a buck knife. It's for skinning deer or whatever. I might have. Now I do have a Gerber machete that I keep under the front rack of my four wheeler, for cutting brush and stuff like that. So I might have chopped a finger off or something. But that was so far outside the realm of anything that even crossed my mind at that time. That was, of course not.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah, that makes sense. When you hit that Dogman that day, how close was Allan to it?
Allan, I mean, he wasn't 2 feet farther than me. He was right there. That's why I say I'm surprised he didn't grab the gun. Like he was close enough, he could have grabbed it. But I don't know. I don't think he understood then what had happened to me. He was he obviously knew something was up because I mean, dude, we go duck hunting. We shoot fast moving targets. Like you got to be quick on the draw and accurate at that. I mean, a little teal flying in front of you, he's about the size of a tennis shoe, and he's coming in at 40 miles an hour. Like you have to be able to be quick on the draw. He knew something was wrong because it wasn't like me to draw down and freeze up. You know what I mean? But maybe I don't know. Maybe he just thought that I was scared in that, you know, all that. But yeah, he was right there with me. I mean, he was I don't know 3 steps behind me, probably 2 feet or so. He could have reached out and touched me if he really wanted to get my attention. He could have like shoved me or something. Or he didn't want to shove me while I was drawing down on something. But no, he was right there. I mean, he was barely farther away than I was.
So he was close enough to grab that gun from you. Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
was close. Now that it's gone, do you have any fears of encounters with other dogmen, or is that not a
man.
concern?
I've tried so hard not to think about that. I can't not think about it. I think I'd be a fool to not think about it. Because, you know, quite obviously they exist and it's a very real threat. But man, I wonder, you remember you told me you had that, I don't think you gave his name, but the fella you said he's a researcher. You've known him for a while, and he sent you a message after after the second time you had me on here when I was telling you about the run in I had where it was just me and him, and uh, it was the guy that was the expert or whatever. Uh, shoot,
Oh, you're talking about Al.
yeah, I think so. I think so. Hold on just a second. Man, I'm sorry. I'm parked out like down at the T. I'm actually in the spot where when I came around the corner and I saw him up behind the hill or up behind my house on the hill for the first time, I'm actually facing the other way. Man, my neighbors have turkeys. I ain't gonna lie, that freaked me out. They have big albino turkeys, and there's a line of them crossing the road in front of me right now. What was your question? I completely spaced out and forgot what the question was. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. Yeah, that's understandable. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, my question was, I just asked you when you hit that dog man, how close was Allan to you? So you answered that, so I think we're good.
Oh no. You said about the threat of other. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
no,
that one. Yeah,
man.
about if you put much thought into Are you concerned about other Dogman encounters now that this one's gone?
I mean, no, I'm not just concerned about it, but it's, like I said, it's obviously a very real. It's not something you can write off as something from a movie. A couple of years ago it was. A year and 2 weeks ago, year and 3 weeks ago, to me it was. But um, man, I'd like to think that my experiences with them are over, and I hope to God that they are. Dude, I just I just don't know. I know what I would do. I know what I would do. I'm not going to say that, but man, I don't know how I could get through another time having to worry about my family being safe, or you know, I'd be an idiot to not ever think anything about it. But it's kind of, when I watched Jaws with my dad when I was like young, like 12 or 13 or so, and they killed Jaws, and or what's his name, the sheriff and the captain of the boat killed Jaws, and they're floating on that whatever that thing is, swimming back to shore. And I remember as a kid, I'm scared of sharks. I am scared of sharks. I don't care what I'm not scared of. I'm scared of sharks. That's pretty scary. But I remember being like, Dad, why are they in the water? Why aren't they just waiting for somebody to come and get them? I wouldn't be in the water. He said, dude, if you just killed a shark that big, you ain't scared of anything in the water right there at that moment, And man, that's not necessarily the case. And we're not talking about a shark either, but I man, there was just such a it's hard to put into words the emotions that come with being released from something like that. Like, man, I was marked. I was legitimately marked. Like dude, that's scary to even say. Like, man, it's dark out. I ain't gonna lie. I'm sitting in my truck by myself. It's dark out here. Like, I'm a little uneasy because I'm talking about it right now, you know, but I know that it's over. I know that there's not very much of a chance of me having another, because man, I lived on that place where we ran into him for the first time my whole life, from the time I was 8 years old, and I was out there all the time, like all the time. I was that kid that was barefoot in the woods, like Sunday night before I had to go to school Monday morning. My mama had to make me come in and take a shower because I was dirty as hell from being out in the woods, and I never saw him. I never saw him. I never heard him. I don't know how old that thing was, how they age, where he came from, if he had ever had a pack or was a part of a pack, or was, that is something that I kind of thought about for a little bit. But man, I just I feel like if he was part of a pack, I wouldn't have just seen him by himself multiple times. And if he was part of a pack and I had killed him, something would have happened. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's definitely not something that I've definitely thought about it. And I think I'd be stupid to not give it any more thought. But as I like to say, it's there's nothing to worry about till there's something to worry about. And right now, there's not. And quite the contrary. My level of stress and worry is probably the lowest it's ever been, pound for pound. You know?
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's how it should be. And I don't think you have to worry about another Dogman encounter. And I'll tell you why. All through this time, it's always been just that one Dogman that you've been running into that's been
Yeah,
seeking you out. If there was another one you had to worry about coming back to pay you a visit, I think you would have seen it before now. So I think you're free and clear.
I sure hope you're right. I damn well hope you're right. I'm not joking, man. I don't I don't have any intentions of ever being tangled up with anything, let alone one of those ever again.
Yeah, hope you never do. I really do. After the dust settled from what happened that day, the day you had the showdown, were you more traumatized by what happened between you and the dog man, or the fears that you had of being visited by an alphabet agency?
Uh well, I probably the latter, because it's, man, just the again the I'm free. not I'm free, but whatever, the sense of relief, just knowing that that thing's not after me. Like now, I mean, yeah, it's worried me sick. Somebody coming to my house, or I mean, because I don't know what would happen if that happened. I don't know when we did whatever. I don't remember what point it was. One of those two times when I was on here with you before, somebody asked if there had been any agents, but they were asking. I think it was the first one because they were asking if there had been any agents at my grandparents' house, and that was it was at my grandparents'. It wasn't at my house, so it wasn't really something that I had to stress over. Not that I wasn't worried about it, but it wasn't. I wasn't the focus of that, and it wasn't at my house. Like I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I I've definitely been here since he's been gone. I've definitely been more worried about some kind of government agents coming to my house, I guess.
Well, like I told you, if they were going to visit you, they would have visited you a long time ago. Not long at
Yeah.
all after the experience, probably that night, no later than the night of the encounter. It happened in the wee hours of the morning, but they would have visited you by that night. But that didn't happen because, yeah, I just don't think they have any interest in doing that. You didn't do anything wrong, anything that would have set you afoul of them. So I just don't think you have anything to worry about. I don't. And so that I know, Kim, what kind of time constraints are you under tonight?
Time constraints? Not nothing really. I thought about going hunting in the morning, but I can be there as early as I want to.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it easy. Yeah, I just didn't want to hold you up or keep you over. So if that's the
No, no,
case, if we ran maybe an hour and 15, an hour and a half, would that be too long or okay?
no, that's fine. No, that's perfectly okay.
Okay, great. If that's the case, then everyone in the live chat, if you have any questions that you'd like for me to ask Kim, please
Mm.
type them in all caps. That way I won't miss them. But I've got some more questions for you before we get to those. The next question I have for you is, has there been a day since you had that showdown that you haven't thought about Dogman?
No, no. Um, I don't know. There might have been one. Maybe. No, I was gonna say the day that that I went and got my girls, my wife. I mean, no, because when I got out at the house, it was man. I got out and I had a pistol in my hand. Yeah, I mean that's how I used to get out of the car. I mean, that's how I used to get out of my truck. Like whether I was pulling up at my house or whether I was staying at Juan's house that night or whatever. I mean, I would get out with a pistol in my hand. The same pistol that I that I had popped him with that time when he ran up on me in my deer stand. But I mean, there might have been one. Maybe I can't name it if there was, but for the most part, no, no. He's had some kind of a. I don't want to say he lives rent free in my head, but he did for a long time. And I mean, no, it's still something that I've thought about that I don't think I'll ever be able you know to just let it go. I guess.
Yeah, you're probably right. But then again, you have the experiences that you've had. It's only natural that you're not going to be able to totally let it go, that you're going to think about it, at least in passing from time to time. You are
Mhm.
human, so that's expected. Let's shift gears a little bit here now. It seems to me, and this is something I've wondered about quite a bit, it seems to me like you just might be as tormented by having to put Rosco down as you were from what happened to Dallas that night. Is that accurate?
I mean, it's there's just like man. The only thing is Dallas. I was about to say it's hard to compare it to. It's not hard to compare it to at all. Um, Dallas died so I could be here. He gave his life so I could keep on going. Um, but with Roscoe, man, that could have been avoided. Um, I guess with Dallas, it could have been avoided too. But man, there's just no way we could have known about that. That's not that wasn't something within the sphere of our control. That thing showing up on us and trying to attack us and all that. That's that had nothing to do with us. But when with Roscoe, man, that was I'll tell the people that are listening. I told Vic, and I'm not speaking ill on my wife because she's my wife. She's the mother of my children. She's the love of my life. I love her with all my heart. But that was her fault that happened with Roscoe. I told her and told her and told her. That was a very big, dominant male dog. He was sweet as all get out. But my wife is abrasive with our animals. Like she's very domineering when it comes to the animals. Like she doesn't. It's partially is so whatever I say, the dogs do. There's no, they hop to it. When I say y'all better get out of here right now, they're out of here. They all pile up in the kitchen waiting on scraps, and she turns and trips over one. I know it's time to tell them like, hey, y'all better get out of here. Well, they do it. They hop to it like that. Well, when she says it, they just kind of sit there and look at her, and it's frustrating to her. It's she doesn't have the best.
Uh-oh, we lost him. He'll be right back. Now that he's clicked out or that we lost him while we're waiting for him to come back, I just want to put the ending message that I normally put at the tail end of the show out there for you now. If you've had a Dogman encounter that you'd like to speak with me about, whether in private or
Can you hear
on
me?
the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you do that, then I'll be more than happy to contact you and schedule a phone consultation. We
Hey, Vic,
lost you
can you
there,
hear me now?
Cam. I can. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
my bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no idea what I just did. Um, uh, anyway, no, man, the Roscoe thing could have been avoided, man. I warned her and warned her and warned her, like, you cannot, she would grab him, like, she would snatch him by his collar. And it's just, man, I don't care who you are. You don't want a human who can talk and communicate with you doesn't want you to treat them that way, but a big male dog who's intact. I don't fix my animals. It's bad for them. It shortens their lifespan. It makes them gain weight. It's bad for their joints. Overall, it hurts them in the long run. Just, if you're one of those people who thinks you need to fix your dogs, please just be responsible and don't let your dog hump the neighbors, and you will not end up with puppies that you don't want. And your dogs will live as long as they need to. But I wasn't going to cut his man stuff off so my wife could tell him what to do. Because, I mean, at that point, he was already like 3 years old. It wasn't going to make a whole bunch of difference. And the difference that it did make would have taken, an amount of time to make. Anyway, she was physical with him. And I warned her over and over, stop doing that. You can't grab him like that. You can't do that. If ever it's a problem, just throw a piece of turkey in the kennel and make him go in the kennel, and I'll scold him when I get home if it's something that I can scold him for when I get home. But Roscoe that was an error on mine and my wife's part, whereas Dallas was, nobody could have seen that. Nobody could have seen that coming. So it wasn't anybody's fault per se, I guess. Whereas Roscoe, it was, I failed him. That was my dog, and and then I had to do that myself. Like, man, that was the worst day of my life. I sat down and cried. That was the biggest hole at that point that I had ever dug. And it was, I mean, I was by myself. It took me forever, and I had stopped and gotten my grandpa's gun from his house, and he asked me. He said, Bud, what if I take him? I was like, Grandpa, I could never. You can't. Like and he had other dogs too. And my grandma was old, and they had a Doberman that attacked her at one point. And I was like, man, I'd never forgive myself. Like he may never do that again, but there's absolutely no way to know that. And I just that was an error that was a human error that caused Roscoe to not be here anymore. And Dallas was not that wasn't the case. He stuck it all out there for me and for Tyler, and I couldn't have told him not to do it if I wanted to. If I had the chance to, I couldn't have said no. No doubts. You go home. You sit. You don't do this. Nothing in the world I could have said would have. Nothing would have stopped him.
Well, it is, Cam. We talked about this off the air behind the scenes. Like I told you, I mean, you were in a very difficult situation that you handled the best way you knew how. You could have done everything right with Roscoe and still been put in that exact same situation. There's no guarantee that if your wife would have handled him perfectly to the T, that wouldn't have been the end result. I mean, handlers, trainers, they get bit all the time, even by their own dogs. Not every trainer is going to get bitten by their own dog, of course, but there are plenty of trainers out there who know what they're doing, but from time to time, they'll be bitten by their own dogs because sometimes dogs, just like people, you'll have bad apples that are unpredictable. And I mean, sometimes you think you can handle them and I can do this, I can do that to prevent problems from happening, but they might be having a bad day and you wind up getting bit. So please don't blame yourself for what happened to Roscoe. I mean, he put you in that situation. You handled it as a very difficult situation that you handled the best way you knew how. And I mean, that's life, unfortunately. I hated the fact it had to happen, but it did happen. You're a family man, as you know, as you've said. So you had to protect your family and do what you did. So again, please don't be too hard on yourself because, I mean, you just did the best you could in a very difficult situation. Talking about dogs, though, at the end of Saturday night's show, you told us that you think you feel good enough to start looking for another big male dog. With that in mind, are there any breeds you've been considering?
I mean, man, my myself and I being, who I am, I want a bulldog. I want an American bulldog, but I couldn't look at a dog that looked like Dallas all the time. I would never not be able to think about what happened, and but I just my this dude named Al, who I was roommates with back when I was 20, 22, 21 or 22 years old. Man, his brother Peyton had a great big old black lab named Mojo. Mojo looked so, when the Blair and Sarge, the dude and the dog that Allan and I met before and after, everything went down. Sarge looks exactly like Mojo. Like I said, he was just my type of dog. Great big head, big square blocky head, big bone, thick legs, big paws. I like big dogs, man. It's just, there's just so many purposes a big dog can serve: love, affection, protection. Oftentimes the sight of a big dog will deter a human from even being like, you're fixing to go snatch her purse. She got a big old dog with her. But it's mostly been between a lab. I really don't care about the color. Probably be a black or a brown one. White dogs and lighter colored dogs tend to flare ducks. And it's be a duck dog for me. Most of all, be a family pet. But I do need a dog to go get ducks where I'm, where the water's too deep for me to go and get them or whatever. But mostly it's been labs. I don't know. My buddy has a Chesapeake Bay Retriever who's a pretty cool dog. Kind of crazy, but he's nice. I haven't really thought much outside of that. You said you had a recommendation, though. I've been wanting to hear it.
I do. Yeah, I was going to give you that recommendation off the air, though.
Okay, that's fine. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to give you a recommendation and send you a link to a website.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
But
That works.
You being into the things that you are, I think a lab sounds like a great candidate. So maybe I shouldn't even bring this up after the show. I don't know.
No. I'm, man, I'm always wanting to hear what you got to say.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk about it then. Well, let's get to the listeners' questions from the live chat. The first one up is from Julie Travis. She wants to know, or it's a request, please ask him if he's informed the relevant authorities about the Dogman body and has he requested removal of the corpse. The Dogman family may return for retribution. Well, he didn't have an opportunity. I mean, the authorities were there. They were already there on scene. So there's no need to request the removal of the corpse. As soon as he was out of sight and Allan was out of sight, I mean, before you could turn around twice, I'm sure that corpse was out of there. So there's no need to even worry about asking that for that to happen. And yeah, as far as informing the relevant authorities, those police officers, they contacted whoever they have on speed dial to contact about things like that the moment that Kim left. So both of those things were taken care of almost instantly. And then as far as the Dogman family may return for retribution, people ask about that all the time. I don't think that dogmen make a habit out of hanging out together in numbers. They do sometimes, but I don't think they make a habit out of that. And I'll tell you why. If you look at predators like wolves, well, they hang out together in numbers for a reason. In order to dispatch the prey that they predate on a regular basis, elk, deer, anything else like that they prey on, it requires numbers due to speed. They're going after animals that are faster than them, but they can relay because they have the numbers to do it and wear down the prey. Or if it's bigger than they are and stronger than they are, like an elk, like a moose, well, they have the numbers to work together to take down that prey. Well, a dogman doesn't have any of those problems. It's going to be faster than anything it's going to go after to try to predate on. It's going to have the strength to overpower anything that it goes after and kill by itself. Also, too, a dogman being as big as it is, its daily caloric requirements are going to be ridiculous. Well, with that in mind, if you had a group of them in one area for any period of time, they're going to blow through the resources in no time. Well, if that's the case, they've basically made that area sterile, worthless for circling back to later on at a later time and hanging out to survive in. So, yeah, it just would make sense that, okay, they come together in numbers occasionally, but it would just make sense that they don't make a habit out of doing that. Let's bring up the next question.
If I may,
Sure.
I would have told. When I say that, I'm not going to say that. I might be lying. I was going to say I would have told the authorities. But man, that big dude, the big fella. If I had to guess, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at myself in the mirror. I don't like breaking mirrors. I'm the ugly type. But the big dude, the larger bald game warden, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, that dude wasn't surprised. There was no, unless he thought he was looking at a bear, which that's not the case. Because he told us, he said, y'all need to go ahead and leave. Y'all might want to get out of here. Man, that dude, I dare say he's had some kind of experience with one of those before, or something else unnatural. Because man, he didn't bat an eye. He didn't blink. Like it was weird. It was kind of strange, But I don't know. I might have told us. I don't know. With as freaked out as I am about, or as I was about, thought of people coming to my house. Maybe I wouldn't have told everybody. I don't know. But that fellow seemed like he knew something. I just felt like I needed to say that. It was kind of out of place how calm he was.
You probably did know something. You probably knew a lot more than what you would expect. And that's pretty disturbing in and of itself. But you'll have that. Looks like Paula has the next question. She wants to know, have you had / have any dreams of dogmen?
Not for a while. There was a night where it was a night when me and Juan were at his house, and goodness, excuse me. We slept in turns that night. It was just, couldn't help it. I was like, bro, I was nodding off. I was sitting in a chair, And he was like, man, if you want to take a nap, you close your eyes, you take a nap. And I was like, and I didn't know if I could, even though I had been dozing off, I didn't know if I was like capable of having sleep at that time. But man, I did. I dozed off for a while, and it wasn't some crazy dream. It was just, I would dream that this thing had smashed into the side of the house because this was after that had happened, and not the same night, but this was prior to that happening. But I had a dream that he smashed into the side of the house, and it was almost like a flashback or deja vu from when we had seriously that night when he did that. And I mean, dude, we booted Juan's back door open and started shooting all into the dark. Like there's no telling what we shot, but it was almost just like living that over again. It wasn't some weird off the wall dream. It was just I did have a dream about it. Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't had more dreams, nightmares.
Right.
But yeah, thank goodness you haven't. The next one up is from Patrick, and Patrick wants to know if you have Rh negative blood.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. My wife is a nurse. She could draw my blood and tell me. I guess I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know what my blood type is either. Yeah, that's a good question.
I probably should know that though. I should probably educate myself.
Well, I asked about that not too long ago when I was at the doctor's office, and they really want you to jump through so many hoops. They don't make it easy to find out. So I figured, oh, well, it's just one of those things.
Right.
Yeah. Tiffany Harding wants to know, Kim, can you remind me of what kind of legs that Dogman had?
He had those weird canine legs. Like they were, I mean, what's the word? Starts with an H. Not haunches, but hawks or haunches, whatever. They were. You told me, what's the word for the other one that doesn't have humanoid? Is it humanoid?
Hominid style legs.
Hominid. That's it. No, they were not hominids. I mean, he had canine legs.
Yeah, that's the most typical type that they have been reported as being seen having, so that fits. That's no surprise there. It looks like for the next question, Expressions of the Outdoors wants to know, Kim, what did the authorities say when they came for the Dogman's body?
Well, I'm not sure what happened when they came for the body because we were gone at that point. But what happened when Allan and I, because we decided amongst our, before we ever even had the run in with the first game, and I forget that guy's name. Whenever I told you his name was, I don't think that's right. He's young. I've met him before, but I never had a run in with him as a game ward while I was hunting. But we ran into him, and the first thing he asked us, was, "Who was that boy who?" Because Blair and his dog. I don't know if y'all listened, but Blair and his dog, was a dude and a dog that we met out there before, and then they checked on us after they heard this thing roar. They heard the gunshot. They ran down the bank, left their four-wheeler, ran down there. Well, we told him, we're like, man, you need to go. Like you probably need to get out of here. And he didn't question it at all. He was like, all right, and they skedaddled out. So the dog was running. Sarge was running with him. Like Sarge was running ahead of him when they came in, and he ran into the blind with us. How I met the dog and all that. But they had given the game warden the slip. Apparently, he shined them with the light because his side by side was kind of big for being, because the trail's tight in places. In certain places, it's really tight. He never would have caught that dude ever. But the first thing he said to us was, "What?" He said, "Who was that boy that ran from me on the four-wheeler with the dog?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. I have no idea." But then first of all, that dude came to check on us after hearing that thing roar and hearing me shoot. He's cool with me. I really should have got dude's number or something. I wish I could talk to him. But he said he checked our stuff and all that. And when a game warden checks you, generally they check your if you're duck hunting, they check your gun and make sure there's a plug in it. They'll say, "Here, hand me some shells." They'll say, "Hand me 3 or 4 shells." If they can put more than 3 shells in your gun, you automatically get a ticket for no plug. Well, then they check your blind bag to make sure you don't have any ducks, or if you do, you're not over limit and all that type of stuff. But you know, after the initial stuff, uh, I told you, Allan ratted on me. Like, he completely and totally. He said, "Cam, you need to tell him what's going on." I was like, "Dude." So that's when we went back there, and the younger fella, I said younger, he's smaller. I assume he's younger. Um, he saw this thing from the back, and he thought I had shot a black bear, which that would have been. I'd be in prison. I would definitely have gone if that was a black bear and I did shoot it. I would not be talking to you right now. But the first thing out of his mouth, once he saw what was remaining of him sticking up out of the water, he said, "You shot a tagged black bear?" And I was like, "No, no, man. Uh, hate to break it to you, partner, but that's not what that." Anyway, we go over there, and that's not actually what I said to him. It's just what I thought. But we go over there, and he realizes quick that it's not a black bear, and he told us, he said, "Y'all stay right here," and he radioed for help, and it took that big dude a little while to get out there, and man, he was on his phone. Like, he was on his phone talking or whatever, and then he'd stop and he'd text, or it looked like he was texting. And surely he wasn't scrolling through Facebook. But the big dude got out there, and man, he didn't say much jack at all, other than telling us that we needed to leave. So I mean, he was that's the thing. That's pretty much the extent of what he said to us. You know, he came out and he did not look surprised. Like, he did not look shocked at all. Like, he had seen that before, and if not that particular dog man, he had seen something like that before, and it did not shock him. I mean, I don't know. But he, as far as what was going to happen with the body, or what was going to happen with us, they didn't say a word. They told us to leave, and I gladly left. Like, I was, I wouldn't ask another question if I felt like it, you know.
Yeah, I don't blame you for getting the heck out of there. Good idea. The next question is from Scott Miller. He wants to know how big and tall the dogman was.
Uh, man, so there was when I first saw that thing, like, not that day, but the first time, it was dark, right? It was dark, and there was this the best I could. I got a gauge of. I didn't get the gauge of how big he was till afterward. I mean, standing there looking at him, he's monstrous. He's the biggest. You think the biggest human you've ever seen, ever in your life. I stood next to Brock Lesnar one time, not right next to him, but like, well, with, like, 20, 30 feet. That dude is a gargantuan monster of a person, and he has absolutely nothing whatsoever on the size of this thing. But um, the first night I saw him, there is a tree. Well, excuse me. He had walked out of the tree line towards this tree in the middle of almost in the middle of the pasture where we were shooting coyotes at. Well, he from the best I could gauge, I thought his head had almost, or the top of top of his head, his ears had been touching this branch, because he was kind of like up under this tree almost. The branch sticks way off the front of it. And since then, I guess wind came through and broke it off. That branch is broken. It's laying on the ground. And I measured that thing, and it was like 7 feet 3 inches off the ground or something like that. But man, I don't know. I don't see how I could have been just crazy off or wrong. But man, when I made it out of the water, like this, just a couple weeks ago, when everything came to a halt, I made it up out of the water and climbed the bank, and I was a good 2 feet out of the water. I'm right at 6 feet tall, right at 6 feet tall. I'm not a centimeter over 6 foot. I'm right there. And man, I was standing up out of the water, say 18 inches. Give myself some wiggle room. Don't say full 2 feet. I was 18 inches out of the water, standing there with boots on, and me and him are looking at each other. I mean, you know, we're dead level, eye to eye, looking at each other. You know, I might have, excuse me, I might have had a slight angle on him, barely, barely, barely. But I mean, man, and he was down in the mud, like he was again. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that probably saved our butts, was that he was so bogged down in that mud. But I mean, dude, he's got to weigh 600 pounds. Got to weigh 600 pounds, man. My grandparents had my grand, and if it was more than that, I'm saying that's That sounds plenty reasonable to me. But my grandparents used to have great big old cows, man. And I know what a 2,200 pound bull looks like. And a 2,200 pound bull only weighs more than that thing because he's so round and he's so low slung to the ground and so, so, so what's it called? Burly, whatever the word is I'm looking for. But that thing, man, there's no, man, I mean, dude, he had to be 8 feet something. Had to be between 8 and 9 feet tall. I don't see how I could be that far off from the measurement I took on that branch or whatever. Maybe he was a little farther back or close to the branch because the branch is taller up toward or the where it comes off the tree. It's taller up there. Maybe I was off with how close he was into the tree or how far out I should have measured on that branch or whatever. But man, that thing had to be over 8 feet tall. Absolutely had to. And he's not as far as what you call it, uh the like the size, the mass of it. It's not quite like I've heard, and it's been this way. It had been this way since the first time I saw him. Some people describe it, lots and lots and lots of people describe these things, and they're like, he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had massive pectoral, and that's not what he looked like. He was not skinny by any means whatsoever. He was just a chunk of muscle, man, just this big chunk of muscle. But his shoulders were really big. Shoulders were kind of not cannonball huge, but big shoulders, big head, tall, 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 tall. I can't stress that enough. Tall, like really tall. And his arms were really long, like gangly, clumsy looking long, almost. Like, like that was one of the things that stuck out, other than the eyes. Other than the eyes, the first time seeing him, like first time ever, that was one of those things that was like make your hair stand up on the back of your neck, was how long his arms were, like the bottom half of the arm. I say half, it's not half, it's like 2/3 of the length of his arm from elbow to the tips of his fingers. But I just, this guy was just not like lots of people describe it. He wasn't freakishly muscular. He was just big, completely covered in this gunmetal charcoal gray, wiry hair. I mean, wasn't raggedy looking. He didn't look like, he'd been well groomed, but he was, I don't, so I told y'all about Tyler shooting that moose. So I called this moose in, man. And Tyler went on a moose hunt. This was a couple of years ago. But we went on a moose hunt. I don't know if you ever stood in front of a moose before, whether it be in a zoo or if you've shot a moose before. Man, those things are huge, huge. They're so big. Bull moose are, I mean, you see videos of people with moose like charging them and stuff, and your head would be about as tall as a big old cow moose's shoulders, midway of her neck or something. Whereas a bull moose would be way bigger than her. Man, he was bigger than Moose. He was way taller than Moose. Way bigger. I mean, I say 600, 650 pounds. I might be wrong. Maybe not. I've got to be somewhere close, But I wouldn't nickname him Tiny, if that's, you know.
Huh. Yeah, I can understand why. Yeah, sounds like a specimen. Just think they can be a lot bigger than that. 12 feet.
I can't imagine. I can't even wrap my head around seeing something like that big.
I know. That's just too much. Scott Miller wants to know, Cam and Vic, are dogmen attracted to specific blood types? The reason why Patrick was asking about the RH blood type is it's believed, it's not known, it's believed that they just might be attracted to people with that type of blood. So that's why he asked that question. And you'll find people asking that question of various eyewitnesses from time to time. So I hope that answers your question there, Scott. The next one is from OOC. And that question, that's weird. It just disappeared. I think I clicked on it and made it go away. I'll see if I can find that in just a bit here. This next question is a general one from Patrick. He wants to know if I think that dogmen are hypercarnivores. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Patrick, as far as them being hypercarnivores. I think he's wondering if I think they're obligate carnivores and that meat is all that they eat. And the answer to that question is yes, I do believe that. If you
Oh
look
yeah.
at their teeth, their dentition, I mean, their claws, they're not equipped to eat salads and things like that. I mean, they are just maxed out for processing meat. So, yes, I do believe that they are obligate carnivores. That's all they eat is meat. The next question is from Scott Langhorst, and he wants to know, it's another general question. He wants to know if dogmen are chipped. Well, it's been alleged that they are chipped, but we don't know that. I mean, all we can do is just wonder. Just because somebody goes on a show and they claim to know every last thing about dogmen, that right there makes me very suspicious of them, because someone
Yeah.
who's going to have that knowledge is not going to just go on a podcast and spill the beans. If they did, the government wouldn't let them hang around this world very long. So that makes me really suspicious. That's why I have a lot of skepticism around anyone who puts out claims that they know things like that. The next one is from Scott Miller. And Scott wants to know, have the authorities attempted to confiscate any digital electronics from you? In other videos, freaky men in black have taken cameras, cell phones, and computers from witnesses.
No. I mean, that's something. Me and Vic have talked about that twice now. It's just, or not my electronics, but whether or not they're gonna, show up, and I'm just, it's partially because I want Vic to be right, and I want to be left alone. But no, they haven't. I haven't heard anything from anybody. Like nobody has shown, and I pray it stays that way. Because I mean, if you show up at my house and say, "Hey, give me your phone. I want evidence of this. Give me your, I need to see." I was about to say I'm not sure how I'd react to that. I really wouldn't have much choice but to give it up. But so far, no, and I hope that it stays that way because I just, dude, in my mind, it's over. Like it's over. It's completely and totally over. I'm done with it. It's no longer something that I have to deal with, and I, you know, I just hope that doesn't happen. But so far, no, it has not happened. So I guess that to answer the question.
I think you're right. I think it is over. And thank goodness for that. Well, that yawn right there told me everything I needed to know. So I'm going to throw one last question at you. Yeah, you've had a full day. For the
Uh,
last question, I'm wondering, you told me behind the scenes right before we aired that last episode that this past Christmas was actually the best Christmas ever for you. And I'm wondering, is that because of the dog man being gone or a combination of things?
it's just because my family was back. Man, I thought I wasn't going to be able to have them here, and I just didn't. I wasn't going to go there. I was not going to. I took them there. I took them up there, which was, I guess that was enough to have given their location to this thing. But it was pretty, man. It was pretty obvious that it was me that it wanted, and it was, again, that was something I just questioned and questioned and questioned. Like, why me? Why is it me? Why is it me? It doesn't make any sense that it's me, because like I said, Tyler shot him. Tyler shot him, and Tyler has been scot free of this thing since then. Nothing happened to him. Like, nothing, and I'm glad it didn't. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. You know, but man, it's just, I really and truly, genuinely did not think that I was going to be able to be with my girls on Christmas, man. And this was the first Christmas that my youngest is like, she's 2. She just turned 2 not long ago, and this was the first Christmas where she was going to be able to like rip open her own presents and know what it was and be excited about it. Whereas last Christmas, you hit her box, she just rips the paper up. That's the fun part, her. But this year, she could see, like, you could see her get happy when she opened something like a baby doll. She loves baby dolls, and excuse me. And you know, just I just didn't think I was gonna have them, man. I didn't think I was gonna see them. I figured I'd be video calling for Christmas. And man, but my it didn't, it worked out the best possible way it could possibly work out. And that was it. That's what it was. I mean, yeah, that thing's gone. He's dead and gone, and he's away from me, and I'll never see him. It's just, it is what it is when it comes to that. Yeah, of course, that was great. That was awesome. But man, I haven't, since I've been with my wife, I haven't had a Christmas without her, and it's been 6 years now. So it's, you know, I don't know what I would have done. I probably just wouldn't have celebrated Christmas. I'd have probably stayed up all night, you know, drinking whiskey with Juan, shooting out into the yard. I mean, I don't know. That's not how it worked out, man. You know, I got my family, and we went to see the rest of my family. We went to see my grandparents on Christmas Eve at their house, and of course, I still don't let my kids go outside over there, and they can't be there without me. But I mean, it was like it was my schedule for Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day was the same as it's been since I've been a little kid. Plus my wife's family coming to our house the day before Christmas Eve. But it was just normal, man. I didn't expect that. It was normal, and I got to see my babies, and it was, they were there. I got to have them there. That was really it. It was really,
Well, that's great. You got your life back and your whole family did. So it doesn't get any better than that. I can understand why this Christmas was so good for you. And yeah, thank goodness for it. Well, Kim, like I've told you before, I can't thank you enough for coming on and not only telling us about all the experiences here, but of course for coming back to answer all these questions. I really appreciate it.
yeah, man. Hey, look, I can't say thank you enough for the listening ears and the kind words and the all that. Can I say something kind to somebody if it's okay?
Yeah, by all means.
Man, oh, God, I'm sorry. If I see your face, I never forget you, but a name will elude me 9 times out of 10. Um, the lady and her daughter that you were talking about at the beginning of the show,
Tiffany and Maddie.
Tiff and Maddie, darling, things are scary. Things bother you. There's some things that seem like you can't get away from. No matter how scary, unnerving, or anything, no matter how bad it gets, somehow, some way, someday, it will be okay. Something will happen. Something will work out. Something will change. Something will, something. It will always end up, or pretty much always end up okay. If you're afraid, sometimes you can't help but be afraid. But, you know, there are ways to deal with things. I'm sure there are people somewhere of some, I don't know, there's somebody who can help. Something can be done. Y'all's situation isn't helpless. Sorry, it's scary to y'all, but you're not alone. I'm pretty sure Tiffany was one of the ones who was nice to me whenever I was going through it real bad. And I just want to give the same courtesy and be kind in the same way. It helped me a lot.
Well, it's awfully nice of you to say that. Yeah, those are good words. And yeah, Tiffany has said a lot of supporting comments directed at you. But then again, she's good people, just like you are. So that doesn't come as any surprise. But please remember, yeah, if you ever need help, I'll always be there for you. So you're never going to be alone in this. But having said that, thanks again so much for your time there, Kim, and hope you have a great night.
You do the same, man. Thank you, Vic.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care. Well, that's it for another show, everyone. I can't thank you enough, as always, for joining us for the show. I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. If you've had a Dogman encounter that you need help dealing with, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you do, I'll reach out to you to schedule a phone consultation with you so we can find out what happened and take it from there. But having said that, thanks again so much for listening and have a great night.